My dad actually made a historical landmark. Hi guys, so this is a very random video, but I thought I would make it because recently on Facebook there has been a lot of questions and a lot of posts about a particular piece of artwork, let's be real and call it what it is, graffiti / vandalism, that is up in Wednesbury town centre. Now if you don't know, Wednesbury is a town in the West Midlands and it's pretty close to where I live. My dad, about 22 years ago now, actually decided to graffiti one of the walls, and this is what said graffiti looks like. There's a Facebook group called Wednesbury Update and someone posted a picture of it in there. There have been a few pictures in there over the years of this particular graffiti with people asking who did the graffiti, does Mart still love Kez, who are these people, are they still together? And someone tagged me in this and was like, oh my god, didn't your dad do this? So I made a comment on this Facebook post saying this was my parents, like they're still very much so in love. Tagged my mum in it so she could see. My auntie got involved as well, she commented as well. And we basically just clarified like who the people were that actually did the artwork. So it was my dad. And my mum thinks that my dad did it in the year 2000 because it was based on when we moved from our first house, and so I would have been 5 years old. So my dad doing some graffiti when he had a 5-year-old daughter is actually quite risky, to be honest. But it sounds weird to be making a video about graffiti, but I can't express the love that we've got on this Facebook post. Like, I will put some screenshots of like some of the comments that we received, get the names of people's comments of course, but there's been like over 500 people commenting and engaging with this particular post, and there's been a lot of love. Like, a lot of people have been saying that this has been around for so long now, it would be such a shame if it were to be destroyed, or if the town were to paint over it or remove it or destroy the building. And I completely agree. I think it's a really, really nice reminder of my dad. And if you aren't aware, I do actually have a video on my channel explaining what happened to my dad, which I'll link down below, because unfortunately my dad passed away in 2020, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because it's kind of hard for me to not get emotional about it when I talk. Having like all these people that you don't even know like sending their condolences and talking about how much of like an iconic thing this is to have in like Wednesbury, which is quite a small town. It's nice that so many people who didn't know him and didn't know about his story or anything like that are showing such love and wanting this to be kept there and wanting it to be considered like a staple in Wednesbury. And I actually looked up the definition of a landmark, and I will overlay it here because it actually is technically classed as a landmark because it fits the description. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I just thought I'd make this video to just clear up the situation. My dad did pass away in 2020, but my mum and dad were together for like 25 plus years. I'm 26. I think they must have been together for around 30 years maybe. I think he was 55, which is no age at all to pass away from, and it was very sudden. And he'd always been pretty healthy up until that point. But like I said, if you want more information, you can go watch my other video on it because I'm not going to talk about it too much. But it was from something called pancreatitis, and I actually had the same disorder, well, I guess disease, like literally 2 weeks before it happened. So it was very rare because we don't think there's a genetic link, so it was very unusual that we both had the same thing in a very short period of time. My mom and dad were very much so in love until the end. Like, they had their arguments. Like, I'll post a picture of my mom and dad, just in case any of you would like to know who they are, but they were very much so in love and up until the very end. And a lot of people wanted to know like if they were still in love and if they were still together and if they were still happy, and a lot of people were happy to know that they were, which was very cute, and that they had a daughter, which is me, and they also had a little dog together, Molly, who unfortunately also passed away last year. But she was 14 years old, so she really lived her entire life, which is still obviously very upsetting. But Wednesbury is like a very cute little town. I have lots of like memories of Wednesbury. I basically grew up like in and around Wednesbury, and I hope that it's always there. Like, a few people have said like, how do you feel like walking past the sign and stuff, because obviously it's a massive reminder of my mom and dad, and I think my mom gets more emotional about it than I do, obviously, because he's talking about her love for her in this graffiti. In case you don't know where this is, there is a discount warehouse in Wednesbury town centre which is at the back of the Morrisons, and if you go to the entrance of this discount warehouse, there's a car park in front of it, and around that car park there's just like a big wall there, and my dad basically just spray painted Mart Hearts Kez there, and it's just remained intact since that day. The story behind it apparently is my mum and dad at this point used to go on bike rides together, and they would sort of like bike ride in and out of Wednesbury. They went on a bike ride, I believe, And my dad did this without my mum knowing, obviously, and they went on a bike ride and they went past his route because he wanted to show her this. And he was like, oh, just look what I did. And my mum was like, my mum found it very touching as well, seeing all the lovely comments on this post. If anyone is watching this video from that Wednesbury updates page and from that particular post, then thank you for all the love. We really appreciate it. It's nice to know that so many people support something so random and small, but has become something that means like actually quite a lot, so we really do appreciate it. In case anyone wanted to know anything about my dad and like what he was like as a person, he was a very interesting individual, and he had a very colourful past, and he was very bold and adventurous, and to put it quite frankly, he didn't really give a shit. I share a lot of qualities with my dad in that if he wanted to do something, he didn't really care what other people thought, and he just did it anyway. And like, I always try to be like that. I think that's the best way to live. And he never did anything that he didn't want to do. He was very blunt, very forward. Like, you always knew what he thought about you. Like, he had no tact whatsoever. If he didn't like you, you knew about it. If he did like you, you knew about it. Do you know what I mean? He was very hardworking. He was very much so a family man. Me, my mom and my dog Molly were like his entire life. Like, he basically went to work and then he wanted to spend the rest of his time at home with his family. He loved my mom and he loved me more than anything, and my dog. Like, we were basically his entire life. I'm very thankful to have the like childhood and the upbringing that he gave me, because obviously it shaped me into who I am today, so I really appreciate that from him. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better upbringing. He gave me everything I wanted and needed as a child. Like, I was spoiled, but not like, you know, too much. Basically, I'm just very grateful for my dad, and I would just like everyone to know how much of a wonderful man he was. I would be very sad to see that particular graffiti go. I hope that it stays as long as I am on this earth. I'm very emotional for my mom too, because she's lost the love of her life, and it's been a really rough time, I can't lie. It has been the hardest time in my life losing him, and I wouldn't ever wish losing a parent on anyone, because it's not something that you just ever get over, to be honest. But I'm going to stop before this gets too emotional, and I just wanted to explain the situation with the graffiti, and hopefully it clears up some questions, because a few people have asked, and it's easier to explain in a video than to make like a huge comment back on Facebook. So that's my explanation. I'm going to wrap this video up now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll leave it at that. Bye.